Greetings. It is day 138 of Personal Family Lockdown and day 132 of Shelter in Place for the county. So when the shelter in place started and the pandemic really started getting going, I basically gave up on sort of long-term planning. The only plan that I really had was to have a baby in July. And pretty much everything else I sort of gave up on trying to figure out. Well, that one plan did happen. I did, in fact, have a baby in July. But now what? It was one thing to sort of have no plans in the short term, when we thought maybe this would last a few months, maybe even in the medium term. But it's quite possible that this sort of state of existence might continue on for several more months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, who knows? And so there's sort of the question of, well, I guess now what? To what extent do we now need to make plans given that this is the reality that we're living in? I know there has been just so many questions and concerns in terms of figuring out school for the upcoming academic year, what that's going to look like. It hasn't impacted us quite as much just because of the age of my children. Preschool is certainly not what I had planned, and I am changing what I had originally thought, but is not as big a deal as it is for some people. But in general, sort of, Christmas is less than 5 months away. What are our plans there? Normally we would travel and see family during that time. So trying to think through, okay, well, now that this is sort of the new normal, what does making plans look like in this environment? Ways where we can, try and continue on with life in a fairly safe, limited risk sort of way. How do you build in flexibility for changes in restrictions, either tightening or loosening? So I guess that's just sort of been on my mind now that my one big plan that I had has come to fruition, sort of looking ahead and trying to figure out what makes sense. So perhaps like many people, I don't have a lot of answers, but that has sort of now been on my mind as we sort of shift into, well, what's this next phase going to look like? And since this is now sort of life as we know it, what does that look like as we actually try and maybe someday make plans? Despite the sleep deprivation that we're enjoying, which struck me as perhaps not the best time for making decisions, it is something that I've been contemplating more and more. So as we head into our, I guess we're at this point well into our second 100 days of shelter in place, now what?